The hook, suspense and mystery. The house stood at the end of a lonely street. It was old, the paint cracked, the windows dusty, and the garden overgrown with weeds. Most people in town avoided it. They whispered stories about strange noises at night and lights that flickered in the basement. But to him it was perfect. The young man had always wanted a place of his own. The price was cheap, too cheap, and that made him curious. But he told himself it was just because the house was old and forgotten. So he signed the papers, collected the keys, and moved in without asking too many questions. The first day went well. The rooms smelled of dust, but he cleaned them one by one. He set up his bed, his chair, and his small table. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, but he didn't mind. It was his now. His safe space. His new beginning. But the nights were different. On the very first night, he heard it. A faint sound coming from below. A low hum like a voice whispering through the floor. He froze in his bed, ears wide open, heart beating fast. The sound lasted only a few seconds, then faded away. He tried to laugh it off. Old houses make strange noises, he told himself. Pipes, wind, rats. He forced his eyes shut and tried to sleep. The second night, the sound came again. But this time it was louder. It was not pipes. It was not rats. It was a voice. He sat up, staring at the floor, and for a moment he thought he heard words. Soft words calling a name he didn't know. The third night, things got worse. He had fallen asleep with the lamp on, afraid of the dark silence. But at midnight, the lamp flickered and went out. The room sank into shadows, and from the basement he heard chains rattling. His body froze. His breath turned shallow. He told himself not to move, not to listen. But then he heard a voice, clear this time. A woman's voice. Finally, you came back for me. His heart jumped. His hands shook. Who was speaking? He lived alone. No one else had the keys. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like stone. Slowly, very slowly, he pushed himself out of bed and reached for his phone. The screen lit up, but there was no signal, no bars. The house seemed to swallow all connection. He held the phone like a weapon and whispered to himself, "It's just my mind, just a dream." But the sound came again, this time louder, sharper. "Husband, why are you waiting?" He dropped the phone. The noise came from the locked basement door. That door had been locked since he bought the house. The key was missing. He had tried opening it before, but the handle would not move. Now it shook as if someone or something was pulling from the other side. He could not take it anymore. He grabbed a hammer from his small tool bag and walked, step by step, toward the door. Each step felt heavy, the air around him colder. The sound of chains grew louder and the voice grew clearer. "Don't leave me again. Don't you remember me?" He reached the basement door. His hands shook as he lifted the hammer. One hard strike and the lock cracked. Another strike and the wood splintered. The door opened with a long, painful creak. The basement stairs disappeared into darkness. A cold breeze touched his face and he felt the smell of damp stone and metal. He switched on his phone's flashlight and pointed it down. At the bottom of the stairs he saw her. A woman stood in the shadows, her hands chained to the wall. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, and her long dark hair fell over her shoulders. But her eyes were not human. They glowed with a faint silver light like stars trapped inside. She lifted her head and smiled, a strange mix of sadness and joy. "There you are," she whispered. "I knew you would return." His throat went dry. Who are you?" "You don't remember?" she asked, tilting her head. The chains rattled softly as she stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his face. "You are my husband." "I am your wife." "I have waited here for so long." The man felt his heart slam against his chest. "That's not possible," he said. "I don't know you." "I've never seen you before." She only smiled, as if she knew a secret he did not. The phone's light flickered, then dimmed, and for a second he thought he saw the basement walls glowing with strange patterns, symbols he could not understand. Fear rushed through him, and he turned to run back upstairs. But before he could, the basement door slammed shut with a loud bang. He was trapped. The woman's voice followed him in the dark, soft but sharp, like it was cutting into his mind. "You can't escape me, husband. You came back to me at last." Confusion and denial. The basement was cold, the air heavy with dust and silence. The young man pressed his back against the wall, eyes fixed on the chained woman. Her silver eyes glowed in the dim light. never blinking, never looking away. She smiled again, but it was not the smile of a stranger. It was the smile of someone who knew him deeply, as if she carried memories of his life that he himself had forgotten. "You are my husband," she said softly, her voice smooth and calm. "You swore to return, and now here you are." He shook his head fast. No, that's crazy. I don't know you. I bought this house 2 weeks ago. I don't even have a wife." The woman tilted her head. Her hair shifted like black water, her chains rattling against the stone. "You have forgotten, but I have not." He raised his hammer, hands trembling. "Stay away from me." She laughed gently, almost like a lullaby. "You think I want to hurt you? Oh no. I waited too long for this moment. Do you know how many years I counted? How many winters passed as I waited for you to come back?" Her words cut into him. His chest tightened, though he didn't know why. His mind screamed, "She's lying. She's insane. Don't believe her." But something inside him felt unsettled. He tried to turn his phone light toward her chains, trying to make sense of what he saw. They weren't made of iron or steel. They shimmered faintly like liquid metal that shifted when touched by light. "What are you?" he whispered, her glowing eyes softened. "I am your wife. I am the one you left behind." "No," he said, louder this time, almost shouting. "That's impossible. I've never seen you before. I don't even know your name." Her gaze sharpened and the basement seemed to tremble faintly, dust falling from the ceiling. "Names," she whispered. "Do you not remember the name you once gave me? Do you not remember the stars, the vows we spoke beneath the twin moons?" His breath caught. The words meant nothing to him, and yet his mind flickered with strange images. A sky full of stars, 2 moons hanging side by side, his hand holding another's. A voice swearing promises. "No," he said again, this time weaker, softer. "That's not real. That's not me." She stepped closer, chains dragging with a sound that echoed like thunder in the small space. "It is you. It has always been you." He pressed himself harder against the wall. "Stop it, you're messing with my head. You're some kind of trick." Her smile faded, replaced by sadness. "You truly don't remember." The silence that followed was sharp and heavy. He wanted to run upstairs, but the basement door behind him would not move. No matter how hard he pushed, it stayed shut, as if sealed by an unseen force. Suddenly, the lights of his phone flickered again, and for a moment strange symbols appeared on the walls around them. Glowing lines, twisting patterns that shifted and pulsed like veins of light. He stumbled back in shock. What is this place?" She lifted her chained hands. "This house is not what you think. It is not wood and stone. It is alive. It remembers us." His heart pounded harder. He shook his head again, desperate to push her words away. "No, I bought this house online. It was cheap. It's just an old house." Her voice deepened, almost like 2 voices speaking at once. "You can lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to me. You are mine. You always were." His hammer slipped from his hand and fell to the ground with a heavy clang. The basement lights flared suddenly, not from his phone, but from the walls themselves. The glowing lines spread, covering the stone, drawing strange shapes he couldn't understand. His mind buzzed as if someone was pressing images into his skull. He saw flashes, battles in the stars, ships of light, and himself. Not as he was now, but as someone else, a man in strange armor holding the same woman by the hand. His knees weakened. He grabbed his head, gasping. Stop it! Stop it!" "That's not me." The woman's voice was calm, but her eyes shone brighter, almost blinding. "Your soul remembers, even if your mind does not. I waited here, hidden beneath this world, chained by those who feared our bond. I waited for you, husband." He staggered, trying to escape her gaze, but no matter where he looked, the glowing walls pressed in around him. Why would I ever leave you here?" he whispered, his voice cracking. Her eyes darkened with sorrow. "Because you had no choice. You promised to come back for me, and now, you finally did." Suddenly, the basement trembled with a loud bang from above. The sound of boots, heavy and sharp, echoed from the floor above them. Someone was in the house. The man froze, eyes wide. The woman whispered quickly, her voice urgent now. "They found me. They found us. You must choose, husband. Trust me, or trust them. But if you choose wrong, you will never see me again." His heart raced. Who was upstairs? Why were they here? And why did her voice suddenly sound more like a warning than a plea? The basement door rattled. Voices called out, "Open up! This is government security. We need to check the house for unusual energy signals." The young man stood between two impossible choices. A strange alien woman calling him her husband, and men outside who spoke of energy signals. He looked at her. She looked at him, and the chains around her wrists began to glow. Secrets of the house. The voices upstairs grew louder. Boots slammed against the wooden floor. The young man's heart hammered in his chest. Someone was inside his home. Soldiers or agents, he couldn't tell, but they were searching. The chained woman stepped forward. The silver light in her eyes sharpened, and the walls of the basement pulsed as if the house itself was alive. Her voice was low, urgent. "You cannot let them find me. If they do, they will tear us apart again." The man shook his head, terrified. "You're crazy. I don't even know who you are. Why should I trust you?" She stared at him, and for the first time her calm broke. "Because this house is not yours, it is ours. And it remembers." Before he could answer, the glowing patterns on the walls shifted. Strange symbols twisted into shapes he could almost read. For a moment he thought the walls were whispering. Low voices, old and broken, calling to him in words he couldn't understand. He pressed his hands to his ears. "Stop it, stop it!" But the whispers grew louder. Images filled his mind again. Armies clashing in the void of space, ships burning, a man who looked like him standing beside the same glowing-eyed woman. In the vision, she wore no chains. She held his hand, and together they stood on a balcony made of crystal, staring at two moons. Then the vision broke. The basement door upstairs slammed open. Heavy boots thundered above. Flashlights cut across the cracks in the floor. Voices barked orders. "Scan for energy spikes." "It's here." Somewhere under us, the man's chest tightened, they knew. They were looking for her. The woman spoke again, softer now, almost pleading. "Listen to me. This house is not made of wood and stone. It is older than your world. It is a vessel, a memory. It has hidden me for centuries, waiting for you." He stumbled back. No, that's impossible." But then the floorboards above them shifted. A sudden hum shook through the walls. His phone buzzed violently in his pocket before going dark. Lights in the basement flared on their own. The chains on the woman's wrists glowed brighter, and with a soft ringing sound, they loosened slightly, as though the house itself wanted her free. The man panicked. "What are you doing to my house?" Her eyes glowed hotter, silver fire burning inside them. "Our house," she said. "Don't you see? You chose it because it called you. No one else could hear it. No one else could unlock it, only you. Because you are bound to me." He shook his head, his breath ragged. "I don't believe you. I don't believe any of this, and yet, deep inside, part of him did believe." The voices upstairs came closer. Someone shouted, "Basement door, breach it." The woman's chains rattled violently, glowing like molten steel. The walls shook harder, and the glowing patterns began to move, spreading across the basement like veins of light reaching the stairs. The man's legs trembled. He felt torn in two. "Who are you?" he whispered. Her voice softened again, carrying both sorrow and power. "I am not human. I was once a leader of my people. You were my protector, my warrior, my husband. We swore to stand against the enemy together. But they captured me. They buried me here, sealed me in this prison, waiting for you to return." "I'm not him," the man said. His voice cracked, but he forced the words out. "I'm just me, a normal man. I didn't fight in space wars. I didn't marry an alien." The woman closed her eyes. "Your mind doesn't remember, but your soul does. That is why the house called you back." Suddenly, the basement door shook violently as soldiers pounded on it. The young man spun around. His heart raced. "Open the door." The soldiers barked. "This is your last warning." He grabbed the hammer from the floor, his hands sweaty. He didn't know who to fear more, the soldiers outside or the glowing woman chained before him. The woman spoke one final time, her voice heavy with urgency. "You must decide. If they find me, they will destroy me. And if they destroy me, they will destroy you too." The door cracked. Dust rained down as a boot kicked against the wood. The man's mind swirled with chaos. He looked at the woman, then at the door. Every breath felt like fire in his chest, and then the house made the choice for him. The glowing veins of light along the basement walls shot upward, racing toward the door. In an instant, the entire house groaned, wood snapping, stone grinding. A blinding light burst from the cracks. The soldiers outside screamed. He heard them stumble back, their radios crackling with panic. Control, we've got a surge. It's alive! This place is alive! The man froze. His hammer fell from his hand again. The woman opened her eyes and the chains shattered like glass. She stepped forward, free for the first time. Her silver eyes locked on his. Now, she whispered, do you still think this is only a house? The truth begins. The basement shook like a beating heart. Light crawled over the walls, pulsing brighter with every second. The chains that once held the woman lay shattered on the floor, broken pieces melting into the stone. She stood tall now, no longer weak or trapped. Her silver eyes burned with a fire that pierced through the darkness. The young man stumbled back. His mouth went dry, his chest tight. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. You are free, he whispered, her gaze locked on him. No, she said calmly. We are free. Before he could respond, the basement door above crashed open. Soldiers stormed in, their flashlights cutting through the smoke. Guns raised, they shouted, on the ground. Both of you! The woman raised her hands. The walls responded. The glowing lines twisted upward, forming shields of light. Bullets fired, but they melted into the air, vanishing before they touched her. The young man dropped to the ground, covering his head. His ears rang as the house groaned louder, bending to her will. Stop, please, he shouted. But his voice was swallowed by the chaos. The soldiers screamed as their guns overheated, burning in their hands. Radios cracked, lights burst, and one by one they fled back through the door. Silence followed. Heavy, sharp silence. The man rose slowly, his body trembling. He stared at her. She hadn't moved. She only watched him, her silver eyes glowing like two moons in the shadows. What are you? He whispered. She tilted her head, her expression unreadable. You still don't see? You still don't feel it? He shook his head violently. No, I don't want to. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not your husband. I'm not some alien warrior. I'm just me. The woman took a step closer. The ground beneath her feet pulsed with light. You are not just you. You are more. You were more. You will be more again. He backed away until his shoulders pressed against the glowing wall. The symbols shifted where he touched them, moving like liquid under his skin. Memories that weren't his poured into his mind. A battlefield in space, ships like stars colliding, a sword made of light in his hand. And her, always her, standing beside him not as a prisoner but as a queen. He gasped, falling to his knees. No, this isn't real. These aren't my memories. This isn't my life. The woman crouched in front of him, her voice soft now, almost tender. It is your soul's life. Your body is new, but your soul is old. You are reborn again and again, but the bond between us cannot die. Tears stung his eyes, though he didn't know why. His chest ached with something deeper than fear, something he didn't understand. She touched his cheek lightly, her fingers cool, almost electric. You swore to find me no matter how many lifetimes it took. And you did. You came back. The man shook his head. I didn't come back for you. I just bought this house. That's all. Her silver eyes softened with sadness. Do you really believe this house chose you by chance? He froze. Her words echoed in his mind. Chose you. He remembered the ad online. How strange it was that the house was so cheap, yet no one else ever claimed it. He remembered the way his chest had tightened the first time he saw the photo of it. As if something deep inside him whispered, this is home. The woman's voice pulled him back. The house is part of me. It is part of us. It has been waiting, calling you across time. And you listened, even without knowing why. He staggered to his feet, breathing fast. No, I don't believe it. I can't. But the house itself seemed to betray his denial. The walls shifted again, opening like doors. Behind them, he glimpsed a hidden chamber glowing with blue light. Strange machines hummed softly, their design unlike anything human. He stepped closer, unable to stop himself. The air felt thicker, charged with invisible power. What is this place? He whispered. The woman followed. Our sanctuary. Our prison, our home. All three at once. Inside the chamber, he saw more symbols carved into the walls. But these, unlike the others, he understood. Not with his mind, but with something deeper. His eyes traced the shapes and meaning bloomed in his thoughts. They told a story. His story, a warrior from the stars. A love bound across lifetimes. A betrayal, a war, a promise to return. He stumbled back, shaking his head. This isn't possible. I don't believe this. The woman stepped closer, her voice trembling now. Then let me show you what you refuse to remember. Her silver eyes glowed brighter, filling the chamber with light. The man felt his body freeze as visions consumed him, memories not of this life but another. He saw himself standing before her, strong, armored, his hand holding hers. He heard his own voice, deeper, older. "No matter how many times I fall, I will rise again, and I will always find you." The vision snapped away. He fell to the ground, gasping for air, his body drenched in sweat. He looked at her with wide, terrified eyes. That wasn't me. She only watched him, tears in her glowing eyes. It was, and it will be again. Suddenly the chamber trembled. The house groaned, warning of danger. The woman turned her head sharply. "They're coming back. More of them, stronger. They won't stop until they tear us apart again." The man shook, trapped between two impossible truths. The world he knew, and the world she claimed. And for the first time, he wondered if the world he knew was the lie, the threat. Outside. The house groaned again, louder this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls pulsed with light like veins carrying fire. The young man gripped the doorway of the hidden chamber, heart racing. The woman's glowing eyes narrowed, sharp with warning. "They're here," she said, "and they won't stop until one of us is dead." He swallowed hard. "Who are they? Government? Soldiers?" Her gaze did not leave the trembling walls. "Hunters. Servants of the ones who chained me. They wear human faces now, but they are not fully human." Before he could speak, a loud crash shook the house. Windows shattered upstairs. Heavy boots thundered in from all sides. "Target confirmed." A voice barked. "Lock it down. Don't let her escape." The man froze, his breath sharp. This wasn't just a few soldiers anymore, it sounded like an army. He turned to the woman. "Why are they after you?" "What do they want?" Her silver eyes shifted to him. "They don't just want me. They want you. Because if you awaken, nothing will stop us." His chest tightened. "I'm not awakened. I don't even understand what's happening." She stepped closer, her presence burning like fire and ice. "Then you must decide quickly. Trust me, or they will kill you before you ever know the truth." The walls shook again. Explosions boomed outside. He heard engines, trucks, maybe even aircraft, circling above the house. Floodlights blazed through the broken windows. A voice on a loudspeaker roared, "This is your final warning. Surrender the fugitive immediately. Failure to comply will result in lethal force." The man's legs went weak. He stumbled back. "They'll kill me if I protect you." Her voice cut through his panic, calm but heavy. "And they will kill you if you don't. Do you really believe they'll let you live after seeing me?" He froze. Deep down he knew she was right. He had heard too much, seen too much. Whatever these soldiers were, they weren't here to protect him. The basement door burst open. A squad of black-armored soldiers stormed down, weapons glowing with strange blue energy. "These were not normal guns. Hands up!" they barked. "Step away from the subject." The man's breath hitched. His hands rose slowly, his eyes darting between the soldiers and the woman. One soldier's helmet glowed faintly as he scanned the woman. Confirmed, anomaly readings off the charts. Termination authorized. The woman's eyes flared silver. The house roared with her. The glowing veins of light surged, wrapping around the walls and ceiling. The man shouted, "Wait!" "Don't," but it was too late. The soldiers opened fire. Beams of blue energy cut across the room. The woman raised her hand. The beams bent, twisted, and vanished into nothing. Her chains, now broken, rose from the floor like living snakes. They struck the soldiers, wrapping around their weapons, crushing them into sparks. The soldiers screamed, thrown against the walls. One tried to crawl back up the stairs, but the house itself closed the door, trapping him inside. The young man pressed himself against the wall, trembling as chaos filled the basement. The woman's voice thundered not just in the room, but inside his head. "Do you see now? They are not here to save you. They are here to erase you." He stared at the soldiers struggling on the ground. Their helmets cracked open, revealing faces, but not human ones. Beneath the armor were twisted, half-metal, half-flesh creatures. Their skin shimmered with strange patterns. Their eyes glowed red, inhuman, and cold. The man's stomach twisted. What are they?" Her silver eyes never blinked. Remnants of the war. Machines wearing flesh. Hunters. They will never stop. The man shook his head, his voice breaking. "Why me? Why are they after me?" She stepped closer, her silver gaze burning through his fear. "Because you are not who you think you are. You carry what they fear most, the bond they could never break. The soldiers roared, charging again. The woman moved faster than sight. Light bent around her as she struck them down with power that shook the house. The man could hardly breathe. He had seen violence before in movies and games, but this was different. This was real, raw, unstoppable. The last soldier collapsed, his body sparking, his face unrecognizable. Silence fell again. Smoke filled the air. The house hummed like a living thing, its walls glowing brighter now as if waking from a long sleep. The man slid down the wall, his body trembling. I can't do this. I'm not who you want me to be. I'm just me. The woman knelt in front of him, her face close, her voice soft now. You are more than you believe. You always were. He looked into her glowing eyes, tears burning in his own. Then prove it. Prove to me that I was ever who you say I was. Her silver gaze softened, and for the first time she looked fragile. A tear slipped down her glowing cheek. I will, she whispered. But you must let me in. The house groaned again, louder than before. Outside engines roared. Shadows moved. More were coming. Many more. The woman stood tall once more, her eyes blazing. This was only the first wave. They know you're awake now, and they will send everything they have. The man stared at her, broken between fear and awe, and for the first time, he wondered if choosing her was the only way to survive. The bond. The house stood in silence after the battle, its walls glowing faintly like embers cooling after fire. Smoke drifted in the air, and the floor was littered with broken armor and shattered machines. The young man sat slumped against the wall, shaking, his hands stained with dust and sweat. His heart still pounded like a drum, his ears ringing from the fight he had just witnessed. The woman stood in the center of the room, silver eyes glowing soft now, not like fire, but like moonlight. She looked at him, not with the sharpness of a warrior, but with the sadness of someone who had waited too long. You're not safe anymore, she said gently. They know you're here. They know you're waking up. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. I don't understand. I'm not who you think I am. I'm just a man who bought a house. Her expression softened. She knelt in front of him, close enough that he could see the strange shimmer of her skin, the way her tears glowed faintly silver. Then let me prove it, she whispered. Let me show you what you cannot remember. He flinched back. How? She reached out slowly, her hand hovering inches from his chest. Your body is new, but your soul is old. Your soul remembers me even if your mind does not. If you allow me, I can unlock what still sleeps inside you. He stared at her trembling hand. Fear clawed at him, but something deeper, something he couldn't name, pulled at him too. His chest ached as if a door inside him was begging to be opened. Finally he nodded. Her hand touched his chest. The world exploded. A rush of heat and light tore through him. His body arched as visions slammed into his mind, so sharp, so clear they felt more real than the air in his lungs. He saw himself again, but not as the man he was now. Stronger, older, wearing armor that shimmered like liquid light. His hand held hers as they stood before a vast army beneath two moons. He heard himself speak words his mouth did not know. No force in the stars can break what we are. The vision shifted. Battle. Fire, betrayal. He saw her torn away from him, chains of burning metal wrapping around her wrists. He saw himself fall, struck down, dying with her name on his lips, then darkness. He gasped, choking as the vision ripped away. He collapsed to the floor, his chest heaving, tears streaming down his face without reason. The woman knelt beside him, her hand still on his chest, her eyes filled with sorrow. Now do you see? You are not just a man. You are my bond, my husband, my warrior. He shook his head, crying. I don't know if I can believe it. It feels real, but how can it be real? She touched her forehead to his, her voice breaking. Because you are the only thing in this universe that ever felt real to me. His breath caught. The words pierced him deeper than fear. Somewhere inside, beneath the terror and doubt, something stirred. The walls of the house responded. The glowing veins of light spread wider, brighter, wrapping around them both like a cocoon. The house hummed, not like stone, but like a heart beating in rhythm with his own. The woman whispered, It's beginning. You're awakening. His hands shook as he lifted them. The light from the walls crawled across his skin, tracing symbols he did not recognize, yet he understood them. Power tingled through his fingers, raw and alive. He gasped. "What's happening to me?" She smiled through her tears. "You're remembering. You're becoming who you were." The man's body trembled with energy he couldn't control. Sparks of light burst from his hands, striking the floor. The walls pulsed brighter. But before he could understand it, a deep rumble shook the earth. The woman's silver eyes snapped upward. She grabbed his arm, pulling him close. "They're here," he staggered. "Who?" She pointed upward, her voice sharp. "Not soldiers. Not machines, them, the ones who chained me. The ones who started the war." The house shook violently as a shadow blotted out the windows. A low roar filled the air like thunder mixed with metal. He ran to the broken window and froze. Above the town, a massive ship hovered, dark and endless, blotting out the stars. Its surface was covered in glowing red lines, pulsing like veins. Its size was so vast it made his chest tighten with terror. Floodlights swept across the ground. Sirens wailed. People screamed in the streets, pointing at the sky. The woman gripped his shoulder. Her silver eyes locked on his. "This is the moment. You can run and hide, or you can stand with me as you once promised." He shook his head wildly. "I'm not ready. I don't even know what I am." She pressed her hand to his chest again, her voice fierce. "You are mine, and I am yours. That is enough." The ground shook harder as the ship descended. Pieces of the house fell. The glowing walls burned brighter, as if preparing for war. The man's hands still glowed with light he couldn't control. He stared at them, then at her. Fear roared in his mind. But so did something else, a memory, a vow. "No force in the stars can break what we are." The words echoed inside him. And for the first time, he began to believe them, the final choice. The ground shook like the world itself was cracking apart. The massive ship above the town hovered lower, its red lights flooding the streets in a crimson glow. People screamed and ran, their voices echoing against the burning sky. The young man stood at the shattered window, frozen, his glowing hands trembling. The house pulsed around him, walls alive, humming with power. The alien woman stood beside him, her silver eyes locked on the descending ship. "They've come for me," she whispered. Then after a pause, her voice sharpened. "No, they've come for us." His chest tightened. "I can't fight that. Look at it. It's bigger than the whole town." Her eyes softened but did not waver. "Size does not matter. Power does not matter. Choice matters, and you must choose now." A deep voice boomed from the ship, shaking the air. It was not human. It was not even close. "Release the fugitive. Hand her over, and the rest of your world will be spared. Resist, and your planet burns." The man's knees nearly buckled. He grabbed the broken wall for support, sweat dripping down his face. His mind screamed at him, "Give her up. Save yourself. Save the world." But when he looked at her, he saw her tears. Tears that glowed silver. Tears that carried centuries of waiting. Her voice was soft, breaking. "If you give me to them, I will die. And you will never awaken again. You will live as half a soul forever broken." His breath shook. "But if I fight? If I stand with you?" She touched his hand, her skin cool, her eyes burning with light. "Then we stand together, husband and wife, warrior and queen, two against the stars." The ground trembled as the ship released smaller craft. They swarmed down like predators, their wings cutting the night sky. Soldiers poured out, not human, not machine, but something worse. Creatures wrapped in armor and shadow, their eyes glowing red. The town erupted in chaos. Explosions shook the earth. The hunters marched toward the house, hundreds of them, weapons raised. The man's chest ached with terror. He backed away from the window, his glowing hands shaking violently. I don't know how to fight like you. I'll get us both killed." The woman's silver eyes locked onto his. She stepped closer, placing her hands on either side of his face. Her voice trembled, but her words carried steel. "Do you think I waited centuries for a warrior?" she whispered. "No, I waited for you. Not your strength. Not your power, you." His breath caught. Her words cut through his fear like fire through ice. The hunters roared outside. The house shook harder, its walls splitting open to reveal more glowing veins of light. The floor itself began to rise, forming shapes, weapons, shields, armor. Alien alive, waiting for him. The woman stepped back, her silver eyes blazing. "Choose now. Run and everything ends. Stand and we begin." His heart slammed in his chest. His whole body trembled. But deep inside something shifted. Something old. Something eternal. A memory surfaced, clearer than ever before, his voice strong, echoing across the stars. No force in the universe can break what we are. His fear broke. He reached forward and grabbed the glowing armor as it rose from the floor. The pieces latched onto his body, wrapping him in light. His hand steadied. His breath calmed. The house itself seemed to sigh in relief. The woman smiled through her tears. "Yes, there you are." The hunters outside crashed against the walls. The ship above roared. The air itself screamed. The man turned toward the door, his armor glowing brighter with every step. For the first time, he did not feel small. He did not feel weak. He felt whole. The woman stood beside him, her silver eyes blazing like stars. "Together," she said. He nodded. "Together," the house answered. Its walls split open fully, transforming into towers of light. The ground outside cracked and beams of pure energy shot into the sky, striking the smaller ships. They exploded in fire. The hunters roared, charging the house. The man lifted his hand and power surged through him like a river. A wave of light burst from his palm, knocking the creatures back in a storm of fire and dust. He gasped, staring at his hand in awe. I did that?" The woman's smile widened, fierce and proud. "Yes, you remember now." The battle outside raged. The hunters regrouped, swarming toward the house again. The massive ship above began to glow, charging something vast, something world-ending. The man turned to her, his armor blazing, his eyes fierce. "Then let's end this." The woman took his hand, their powers burning together, silver and gold intertwining. The house roared with them, and together, they stepped out into the night. Two souls bound by a promise older than the stars, ready to face an army. The ground shook. The sky burned red. The final battle had begun.